To what extent is our generation influenced by rap culture?
I'm gonna take two rappers, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's take Dave
Interesting.
and let's take Young Ad. So when I say Dave, what song comes to your head?
Question time.
Oh, what's that song about?
About the politics
Yeah,
and what's going on
yeah, just like
around the world.
current affairs.
Yeah,
Well,
bang on. Okay,
that
so
time.
if I say Young Ad, what song comes into your head? And what does that
Vishad.
promote?
That promotes drugs. What Zayn was trying to say is that, yeah, even though both rappers are as successful as each other, they didn't have to rap about the same things.
Yeah, I'm trying to say how diverse the UK rap industry is.
Who do you
And
think has
obviously
more influence on the kids, though, Young Ads or Dave?
Young Ads, because
Yeah,
I think Young Ads.
But it shouldn't be like
100%.
that, though.
Yeah,
100%.
obviously, but more people, more rappers are like Young Ads. There's not a lot of rappers that are like Dave and promoting what Dave.
I talked about like modern day music before, how it's changed. Like in many songs now, it's just like real life instances and like how
Yeah.
people like us, we just relate to songs.
But
So
you know what? If you look at Kano, for example, yeah, I know I always talk about Kano, but if you look at him and you look at his songs and stuff and like P's and Q's and all that, like that's about him and how he's building himself up. Like that would influence someone else that's going to listen to his music. Do you know what I mean?
It's bad, though, because more kids should be influenced by people like Dave. Because even though Young Ads is a good rapper, what is influencing is quite bad. And I think that maybe more kids are more likely to take. I don't know, because he might not be able to help it, but he is a role model, like, naturally, because of his following. And what he says, kids are going to do
yeah,
naturally.
I hear your point, but you can make the argument with Young Ads and LB. Do you think they promote drugs more or like the more relationship side, like in terms of girls, like you know what they shouted about stuff? Do you think they promote that side more of like the actions? I'm not gonna
But
name them because that's
I
not
don't
right.
think
But
it's about what they're promoting
that
more.
or
It's the
drugs.
fact that they promote it a fair bit. You know,
I know, I
They
understand that.
promote
It's
it
not
way
even
more than other
about.
rappers.
It's not even about promoting it and putting it out to other people. It's what they want to be known for. Do you know what I mean?
But yeah, I hear what you're saying, but obviously everyone's successful in their own ways and they've been successful and they've conquered Europe in that way, so you can't fault them. Of course, it's like portraying the wrong message, but if someone told you rap about something or do something in particular and you made your fame and then you're basically set for life with it, would you do it? Or would you just shy away from that opportunity?
I guess that's a question of your own morals, then, isn't it? I mean, like, would you?
Yeah, true.
I'm not trying to say anything in an extreme way or anything, but it's like, would you rather like corrupt, I say in quotation marks as well, corrupt kids' minds with all of this kind of stuff, or whilst getting big, or not be as big, but
True.
not corrupt their minds. It's like,
I mean, Young Ad said in an interview himself that he's not trying to be an influence to any of the kids. If you wanna look up to him, he said look up to his dress sense and his jewelry and his music, but don't look up to his lifestyle, because that's his lifestyle and
Yeah,
you
to
need to
echo that,
replicate it.
it's like in his interviews, he's like, look where him and LB started, when they were kids, just doing this
Yeah,
most
but
stupid
even though they
shit.
promote all this shit and stuff, like you've got to rate them
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
for how.
the way they promoted their music is, yeah, obviously it's questionable, and like a lot of people don't agree with it. But at the end of the day, like we know, they basically are the biggest in the rap industry in the UK at the moment. They've conquered it.
Do you think? You think that kids think that? Do you realize kids know that they're drug addicts? Because at certain points, these rappers are drug addicts, especially like the ones in the US. And do you think kids even know that? Or kids are just thinking they probably talk about drugs here and there, but these people like might actually have issues?
I think because I'm like, kids are only going to be listening to this like when they're, I don't know, like 12, 13 or above,
But you don't know that though.
Well,
that's an assumption.
I'm saying, well, okay, that's an assumption, but I guess
Anyone has access to the internet, and
Especially
like,
now.
you know what I mean?
I guess
generation.
There's 3-year-olds using iPads.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, then kids that are, I guess, above the age of 12 or 13 would know that they're addicts, but even still, at that age, they're like,
I don't even think people
impressionable.
our age, which is 18, would be able to figure out if they're addicts or not.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. They just think they just rap about drugs.
Exactly, because you're still young at 18.
And no one's gonna label themselves. No one's gonna admit to it.
Mm.
Yeah, that's the thing.
They think it's normal.
Because there's no label, people don't think it's a thing.
Jump on like Young Ads live or whatever. You jump on any rapper's live, and the first thing they do is like if you go on a rapper's live, and what are they doing? They're racking a spliff. Like, do you know what I mean?
100.
So it's
But
it's
at the same time, you have to look at it from the other perspective. Like, we just like there's a lot of people, obviously us guys included, that just enjoy the music. Like,
yeah,
you
but
interpret it
obviously
really.
when there's a new craze introduced or something, like obviously there was Lean before D Block, but when they started rapping about it, like, do you remember how many people just jumped on straight away?
Yeah, that's when it came into the UK really heavy. It was always in the US.
Yeah.
We'll have to
With
check
the US rappers.
It's not just D Block though. It's like people like Fredo. You know, Fredo makes amazing music, as like you guys would probably appreciate as well. But like Zainab said, like if you jump on his live, more likely than not, probably 9 times out of 10, the first thing they're gonna do is rack a spliff. Or like,
I don't think rappers know how much of an influence they have on children. I don't think they know, like genuinely, because so many people look up to these rappers. Surely they must know it to a certain degree.
That's what shocks me as well, because obviously whenever I go to a concert and I look and see like 13-year-olds and like 12-year-olds.
Big up
Yeah, that's a
Zainab
fact.
at the
Nah, but
concert.
no, but you know what I mean. Like, you know, when you go D Block or something,
Yeah, I
and
get
look
you.
and
You
you
see
think,
younger
shit,
audiences.
like, I didn't know the audience was this young.
Exactly. Like when we went D Block, like we nearly died before the thing actually started because it was that crazy in there. Like everyone just wanted to come out, but then at the same time, like yeah, they're rapping about things that obviously are not giving out the right message, but you're enjoying the music at the same time. It's actually that good. Like it's a case of
Yeah,
what you want,
obviously,
what you're
maybe
actually
at that
asking
young
for.
age, it's not going to influence them, but if they're growing up listening to that music, then
Yeah.
it's probably going to
But you know
influence
what?
them to try it in the
But
future.
I don't think it's rappers.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
not. I mean, rappers like people in the music industry do obviously have a big influence because obviously they are really big, and I do agree with what Harris has said about, you know, I don't think they realize about how much influence, but it's about the people you're surrounded with as well, and like the
Their
background music.
environment as well.
Now you
Yeah.
know what? I want to expand on that because that was probably that was like the best point that they don't realize how much influence they have, because I think that's the main question we're asking is like, how much influence do they have, and why do they have so much influence? Is it because kids want to be rappers these days and things like that, or is there any other reason?
Most kids these days are weak-minded as well, so they easily just jump on something because everyone else is doing it.
Yeah,
I
that's
think it's definitely a new trend that wasn't like there before.
Music
Yeah.
is definitely more prominent now than it was when we were growing up. And
It's the
more
type of music. It's the
Yeah,
type
and
of music
there's
that's
more
prominent.
meaning
people are-
behind more meaning behind every single song like you'd listen to. There's more meaning behind everything nowadays than there was when we were growing up. Like imagine just take like Lean and Bot for example. Big tune, like big popping tune when we were younger. Like everyone just loved it because it was just a vibe. Like Lean, like obviously we still listen to it now, but then, for example, if you take something like I don't know, Outside from DB's album, they're completely different, two different meanings.
Yeah, but that's with everything. No song has the same meaning.
Yeah, true. But it's more prominent now though than it was back then.
But do you think in the UK, do you think UK rappers have more influence on teenagers, or do you think US rappers have more?
UK because of like where they're all come from.
Yeah, well, I think the UK has more influence in the UK, but like in general, I think
that
it's
obviously
US.
makes sense.
Well, yeah, exactly.
No, but what you've got to think is how much we listen to US rappers.
No, true.
Yeah, but I'd say the average UK teenager, I'm assuming again, but I'd say the average UK teenager listens to like roughly about the same UK and US, maybe more UK. I'd say that.
Yeah.
I think it's just based on the actual person's personality more than anything else. Than where they
I think it's yeah, because in schools everyone's listening to music, so they want to be similar to the people who are making the music.
See, you know,
they want to act like them.
Zainab made
Yeah,
a good
exactly.
point about hopping on new trends and stuff. Well, it's just true though as well because like look, yeah, a lot of music that's been put out these days, like
No, I think
whether you admit it or not, like those trends are going to the shit like TikTok and stuff. Like it's crazy. Like Drake, like his new song straight turned into a TikTok. You wouldn't think it, if you listen to like a couple of his old albums, like it would be turned into something that big, and people will go mad over TikTok. Like music is a massive influence everywhere.
If we label it the bad side, like the negative parts of rappers, how much are kids taking of that? Because we can, or do we all overlook the good sides? Do we overlook the fact that where the rappers have come from and how they've got where they are and how hard they work?
No, but then you look at Bugsy Malone and see how much he's inspired people compared to
Yeah,
like people like
exactly.
young ads.
I
Like
definitely
young
do
ads
think.
I think
think
before it was
inspires people in the
overlooked.
wrong way. Do you get me?
I think
I
before
think-
it was overlooked, like the rappers kind of come up before it was. Now,
Mm.
now
Yeah.
that's what people focus on mainly. Actually,
Yeah,
I think.
exactly. Like I agree. I echo those stories. Social media is like proper prominent nowadays. Like these rappers and musicians have their platform, don't they? To have their platform to
Yeah.
voice their opinions on it. You know, like you
Yeah.
can jump on a live.
It's
Fredo, I'd just be talking about like where they come from. They can do interviews. Obviously, we've seen these interviews. Like, yo, it's hard, and it's like we're just grateful. But like, you have to appreciate the fan side of it as well, because what all these rappers will tell you is that we wouldn't be here for you
It
guys.
wasn't for the fans.
Designer things, designer clothes are just a trend. Obviously, I don't think anyone
Yeah.
should be judged on what they wear.
I
But
think
but
tattoos
yeah,
have become a bigger trend as well recently.
think
What
Everyone wants to jump onto having their tattoos and stuff like that.
yeah, but
Yeah.
going back to the designer thing though, that's a good point because before people actually started mentioning certain designer brands in
So true.
wouldn't care. People would just be wearing like
Dior.
H&M or whatever.
I'll
Primark, you know
be
what I mean?
serious. Apart from before, most stack and ads put Dior. I didn't even know it was that big. You know, hand on heart, I'll say it.
Yeah, no,
No,
genuinely.
but
You
I
buy,
would,
you're
that-
gonna
that's the
buy
thing.
these products because they're saying, look, they're saying in all their songs and shit. That's why we buy these like designer stuff.
You know how you spoke about Bugsy Malone, and obviously it would be good to have loads of more rappers like Bugsy Malone. But if there was so many more rappers similar to him, he wouldn't be as prominent in the scene as he is. Like he wouldn't be
as
known as
special.
the one guy with so much influence.
Nah, but that's true. But then again, if you had more rappers like him, more people would be inspired. Don't you think?
Be inspired.
Because look, yeah, like be inspired. It's clothing brand. Now, like
No,
if
but-
you look at like
Well,
young
exactly.
ads,
He literally has a clothing brand.
more people want to be like young ads. I think Bugsy Malone gets overlooked by that.
Going back to your Bugsy point, you can see like he has a positive influence because obviously it was really bad that he got in his crash accident recently. But even his like deepest fans, they would never do something like that. They wouldn't just go on a bike. Obviously, it wasn't his fault, but they wouldn't do that. They weren't inspired to do that. They're inspired by him and what he's become.
But I feel like anything that young ads would do, or anything. I'm trying to think of big rappers in the UK, but young ads and Fredo. I'm guessing right now they seem like the two most influential. I think if they do anything, people will just follow after them. And like Harry said, when people want to
There's
be more like young ads,
Yeah, there's more people who want to be like young ads and these other rappers because there's more of them. There's hardly any Bugsy Malones. Like
Yeah,
you
that's
don't
so
see
true.
many who
Yeah, but
promote
don't you
what he
think
does.
that when people
You know what I mean?
see like a rapper like Bugsy Malone or even Cadet, like Cadet is another one of those rappers where you're just like his lyrics, they don't have anything to do with, they're just like real life experiences, you know what I mean?
I don't think many people think that they can get what Bugsy Malone got. That's why they think that they want to take the
Yeah, I
easier
think they
route
sort of
and
overlook
do what
it.
young
That
ads
like,
do.
Yeah, but when you see
I
a
agree with
rapper like Bugsy or Dave or Cadet, you appreciate them more because there's not many
There's
like
not
them. When you
many of
see
them.
another young ads
You know
or
what's
young this
also
or young that,
overlooked though? It's like you have to give these rappers and musicians props because they actually took the first step, and often taking the first step is the hardest. So like as fans, obviously, when you're listening to their music and stuff, and you're like, wow, like look, they're selling out. Well, look, DB, yeah, sold out Ali Pali twice. All these chains were so many racks. Like they took the first step to actually making a career. Like it's possible for anyone.
Yeah,
I
but
think it's
you
that's
gotta realize that most of these rappers had money before they made money.
No, but you look at
Like,
young
But
they
not-
ads.
all
yeah,
And
yeah.
sold
you look,
drugs.
you look at young ads, and then you look at Bugsy Malone. Bugsy Malone's made a whole brand.
If you looked at, I'd say if you caught Bugsy Malone on a random day in the town centre and you caught young ads on a random day, who would look richer? I think young ads would look 10 times richer because he'd be wearing all these chains. Not saying Bugsy doesn't wear chains. Of course he has chains because he can afford them. But I think you'd most likely see Bugsy in a tracksuit with maybe some, I don't know, maybe
And
some
that's why
designer trainers.
younger people want to follow young ads because of what he wears.
Yeah,
and shit.
exactly.
But Bugsy Malone wears his own clothes as well.
And I think more rappers maybe need to invest their money elsewhere instead of just buying it just purely with jewelry.
Yeah,
Because
because
a lot
at the moment,
Because
like
that shit's got to go out of fashion.
Yeah, exactly.
But your
and
money
then
stays.
obviously what a lot of these rappers do, they invest that money, but only for tour merch.
Yeah, Imi, you know what you're saying about giving like rappers props and that though for taking the first step and that. That
Yeah,
what I was saying, like that links to what I was saying earlier. I think that people are giving them the props that they deserve, right?
yeah,
But people aren't. But people are overlooking the negatives of it. You know what I mean? I mean, like,
That's what I'm thinking. Is that but in certain degrees, it's like, you know, in life, in general, people focus on negatives, and I think with the rappers, you do focus on the negatives, but we don't see it as negative. So when rappers are talking about drugs, in reality, that isn't negative, but we don't see it as a negative because it becomes so normalized.
yeah, because
yeah,
think of it like this. Think of it like this, right? A lot of rappers say in pretty much most rap songs, they say, you know, stuff towards women and stuff like that, you know, and it's like
Yeah,
everyone overlooks that. But then if someone
yeah,
were
of
to
course.
say something similar or even the exact same thing on Twitter or something, people will go all guns out blazing.
Yeah,
So that
yeah, but
exactly.
because it's a
And
rapper, they get away with it.
exactly, that's what I
I've
mean.
noticed
that.
Rappers get a
And
kind
you
of
know,
YouTube.
you know what?
pass.
Listen, you know, a lot of these rappers, because they never had much when they were little, they want to buy all that shit now. That's
Yeah,
why
I
when
feel
these
you.
younger people look at
But
that,
you know,
they
Jay,
want to have that straight away.
Jay, do you know what? Going back to
Yeah, go
your
on.
point, it literally links back to stereotyping though. Like, obviously, it's mad how much of an influence people these rappers have, and people who can't even tell. For like, obviously, the prime example being the women one. Like me, Harris, and Sukraj were there at DB. Like these women, like people, like girls were there just singing about things that in reality, if someone said that to them, they'd hate it.
Yeah, yeah.
They'd hate it, but they were there singing it. They loved it. Like with every like part of their body, they're singing it loud and clear.
That's what I
Like,
mean. And the thing is, these people are like supporting something that they would be against normally, and it's
but that's when people don't look at the bigger picture though, because obviously, if there's literally no difference in singing it and saying it on Twitter, because
yeah,
apparently one way is right, like you said, and the other one, like apparently you literally have to like suffer bad consequences for it.
yeah. I know. So you know, it's
It's crazy though how now I'd say, if you've noticed, you know, when a rapper or a musician, they focused on, let's say Dave, when he focuses on real life stuff and people really focus on it, people are like, yo, that's really impressive and things like that. That should be what normal rap is about. But the reason it stands out so much is because not many people are rapping about the right things nowadays, quote
Yeah,
unquote right,
100%.
whatever you
But you
think
know,
right. But not many people are rapping about it, which
but you
so
know,
it
to
stands out.
counteract your point,
That's
to
with
counteract your point,
society as a whole.
to counteract your point, yeah, like obviously we hear that, and I think people like Dave should be like more people like him should be given the right message. But Dave's like so big now. Like he is like he did it at the Brits. Like he called out the Prime Minister at the Brits. Yeah. Like he's made his platform. You feel? And there should be like a lot of people. Like, a lot of people look up to Dave because what's Dave known as? The lyrical genius.
yeah,
You
yeah.
feel?
I know what you're saying. But you know how you were saying about Bugsy as well, how like not as many people look up to him as they do Young
Yeah,
Ads. I mean, like,
yeah.
Yeah.
and then you were saying it was because what was it? Because like Bugsy's like too kind of it's
No,
too hard to
nah.
get to what he's done
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah.
that's what I was
Is that
coming
what
at.
yeah, but then
Mhm.
you'd think, right, people would look up to that, like people would want to follow that more, wouldn't you? You'd think that.
But people are like sort of, it's because what he's done is like kind of unbelievable. Like it's crazy what he's done. And people are just scared,
People,
thinking there's no
yeah,
way we
people
can
think
get
it's
that far.
yeah. People don't want to take chances. That's what it is
Yeah.
more
That's
than
They
anything
think
else.
it's too out of reach.
maybe
Mm.
then maybe there's a link between, I don't know, taking a bad influence from a rapper, right, and not being confident in yourself. Maybe there's a link there.
Jay, do you know to what you were saying about like people taking the steps and stuff?
Mhm.
But I feel like obviously because our generation has changed that much, you know, people like Fredo, Ads, you know, Bugsy, like they almost had like a get out of jail card because there was less people mocking it back then because social media wasn't that big. So say for example, if all of us made a song right now, yeah, and it was like we thought it was really good, and our mates are like our friend circle thought it was fine. Like if
Yeah.
we put it on the internet, we could get slated easily. Like back then, social media, yeah, it was a thing, but was it as big as back now? Was it as big back then as it is now? I don't think it was.
Oh, of course not.
So
No.
it's a lot harder to take. I think it's a lot harder to take the first step now than it was back then. You feel? So like these guys have obviously you got to give them props because they've taken it, but obviously it was a bit easier then than it is now.
Yeah, because now
anyone
it's
knows
kind of saturated. Yeah.
for example, if you think young ads stopped sexualizing women in songs, do you think people would listen to him anymore?
Yeah, and that comes down to the people themselves then.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
No,
At
but
the end
here's
of the day, if these songs are getting views, why is the rapper gonna stop?
Okay, yeah. Because
Basically,
what he's doing is
that goes.
working right now.
Yeah, so if it's not broken, don't fix it.
yeah, but then there's the point of like morals as well. You know, some people think it's immoral. I'm not saying it. I'm not giving my opinion. Some people think it's immoral to kind of do that. You know, so then it's a matter of morals over money. But then I guess
people always, I tell you, 9 times out of 10, people are always choosing money over this world. Like people just choose money any day.
that kind of shows where we're at right now as well, though, doesn't it? I think people think that the come up is underlooked when in reality I think that's looked at fine. You know, I think it is appreciated where some of these guys have come from. You know, I do think it is appreciated, and it should be it should carry on being appreciated. You know, some of these guys came from nothing.
So then it helps younger people to get a better life.
Yeah. However, I do think that the whole sexualizing and drug use is overlooked though in